Okay, so we've heard from San Diego County. We've heard from San Bernardino County. We now get to hear from Orange County. So it's really great to learn from all these other counties and how we might be able to bring in some of these best practices to Santa Barbara County. So today we get to hear from Kat Satterley and Dareen Khatib. Did I say that right? Close enough, all right. It's always an MC's worst fear, your name. Thank you, please correct me when you get up here. Both with the Orange County Department of Education. Dareen is the Administrator of Health, Safety, and Prevention Programs at the Orange County Department of Education, where she oversees various whole child-centered support for districts and schools, including health education, nutrition and physical activity, school wellness, staff well-being, and family and community engagement. Some of you may remember Kat Satterley from the summit last year, as she joined us with her position at the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. Kat is now the program specialist for staff well-being at the Orange County Department of Education. Kat provides support for schools and districts that wish to improve the physical, social, and emotional health of their staff members. Welcome, Dareen and Kat. Thank you.
You know, the way it's spelled looks like Khatib. It's supposed to be Khatib. But that's what happens when people immigrate here and they're like, that's close enough. Well, let's just go with that. Thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to move around a little bit because I might just fall right over. Catch me, Kat. And I want to just share that Kat and I met Kat last year, 2 years ago. Time flies. When she was with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, we collaborated on a project with LACO, actually, and you're going to hear from our colleagues at LA County Office of Ed a little later. And we leaned on Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and Kat was the expert that supported us. And we did like a webinar series, so we met regularly, and we hosted this series for our LEAs and our leaders from both Orange County and Los Angeles. And then we needed to hire someone, and I was like, come on down, Kat. So I stole her, and I'm so happy. And you'll hear a little bit more about Kat and her expertise and all of the amazing work that she's leading in Orange County. So Orange County, I'm going to tell you really quickly that Orange County, in comparison to it can fit in the back pocket of San Bernardino County. It's small, but it's very, very dense. We serve about 450,000 students, about 600 schools, 28 districts, plus our alternative education. So we tend to be right after, like as far as the number of students served, it's always LA, and then we were fluctuating between San Diego, either a little less than San Diego, a little more than San Diego, now we're a little less than San Diego. So we're like the third most, we serve the most students in California, third county. So I'm sharing all that to share that also Orange County, people have a lot of feelings about Orange County, but we have a really rich history of having specifically nutrition-related funding from way back in the 90s. Does anybody remember California Nutrition Network? Yeah? Did anybody have the funding worked on that grant? Just one? All right. And my two besties from San Bernardino and LA. But we also, like Orange County Department of Ed, CDE gave us funding to have a statewide colleague that actually provided technical assistance to everyone across the state. And that was at Orange County, and that's kind of how some of the work started. Then we received funding to work directly with certain districts, and the work has really evolved. And there's a lot of writing on this slide, but I just want to verbally share with you that we have had multiple different funding sources directly from the California Department of Public Health, and that work went from, it was the California Nutrition Network, then it was the Network for Healthy California, and then the funding came down to our local healthcare agency, which is our local public health department. That got the names changed to Nutrition, Education, Obesity Prevention, and now it's CalFresh Healthy Living. So some of you might be like, some of you are like, I remember all of these evolutions, and I remember this, this work and these programs and these funding sources being in my district and my school. But I think I'm saying that to say that the Department of Ed, what we're doing at the county level, those roots, even though the funding has changed, even though we no longer get direct funding for CalFresh Healthy Living, we partner with our local health department that's leading that work. The investment has really created sustained support. So even though we don't have grant funds that provide direct services to our districts and schools, intensive services like we used to provide when we had those grants around local school wellness policy, nutrition education, we've really still been able to continue providing technical assistance, linking them to resources, leaning on some of our partners like Dairy Council and our community partners that have funding to provide direct services and make those connections. So that has really, really paid off. And we ended up actually getting funding at our local level. They recognized all of the work that we were doing. One of our local medical centers used their community assessment funds because medical centers are required to do a community assessment, and then based on the needs that that assessment prioritizes, they will fund different projects. And they were like, well, we want to do something in schools, let's work with the county offices of ed. And we were able to, it's really that funding that came from a local nonprofit called Orange County United Way, and then Orange County St. Jude's Medical Center. They funded us, and we started a great partnership with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. How many people work closely with the Alliance? All right, if you don't, you should check them out. They really helped standardize our support for districts, and everything was in a portal, and it made it became a really great, easy resource for our leads at the school site level to engage. Instead of us doing everything for them, this was an opportunity for them to take more ownership and to really build the system that they are going to use to create action plans, assess needs, come back and see how it went, and access resources. That's really a big one. And, a lot of our schools actually ended up being awarded one of America's healthiest schools. Our local healthcare agency paid to put these giant banners on the schools that they were one of America's healthiest schools. It was used as like a PR, and leaders were like, okay, I'll pay attention now. Well, what is this? I think I could use this. Let's link it to what I'm currently doing. And that really helped also grow and continue to sustain. Even when that funding ran out, a lot of those school site leads that created an online, profile, and they had a portal and they created they're continuing to use it without us and without the direct dollars, because now it's embedded in their work. And that has really helped with the sustainability, and I really appreciate that. And then Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry. Anybody work with No Kid Hungry? All right, a few, okay. Amazing nonprofit, really focused on ending child hunger. They approached us and they were like, none of the districts want to talk to us. Can you help? They don't know us and they don't want to talk to us. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to give nutrition services funds, grant funds, to increase breakfast participation. That's their main focus. And so we leveraged our relationships and we were like, yeah, we could connect you. They were like, don't worry, guys, they're safe. They're legit. They want to give you money. And I'm like, oh, they want to give us money. And then we stepped in and we were like, what do you need to take this money? Oh, I don't have time to write a grant. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. Okay, we will help you out. We will initiate this. We will write the grant for you. We will help you track. We will get the numbers from you and do the reporting. And we did that for a couple of years. And then it was just like, okay, the county office can now step back and the districts now have that relationship with No Kid Hungry. And more of them, and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, a couple of them, the early adopters, they really impact the rest. And it really helped, again, evolve and sustain the effort at our county level. And then last but not least is really what we're here to talk to you about is our new relationship. We're heavily dating Kaiser Permanente. Super excited about this relationship that started pre-COVID. They approached us because of all of our work with all of the Healthy Schools work and the structures that we had created. And they said, how about we give you some funding and you do some work around our new RISE initiative. Has anybody heard of RISE? All right. Okay, we got a couple. So they really wanted, and RISE stands for Resilience in School Environments, and the main focus was social emotional health. So we started with that, and then COVID hit. So that was rough. But what ended up nobody wanted to talk to anybody about anything because, it was like the COVID money, and then it was like, we're trying to move to Zoom, and we are stressed out. So giving anybody, even if it was supposed to be to help you, nobody wanted anything new. especially something that they were going to do for students or they were going to do for families. So we shifted and we were like, how about for you? How about you as actual staff members who were struggling and suffering? And this was the first opportunity for us to actually do something for staff. All of our other grant funds and projects were restricted. We could never do anything for staff. It was always earmarked for students and families. So this relationship with Kaiser really helped us say, we could do something for your staff. And my gosh, that response was like, okay, yes, please. What can you do? Because they're walking out the door and we can't do this without them. So, how could we start this work? And we really, Kaiser ended up shifting our work with them from the very specific RISE program to something bigger. And it's the Thriving Schools Integrated Assessment, which, do you guys remember the School Health Index? This is the better version, 5.0 or 100.0. I don't know what version this is, but it is a very comprehensive assessment that has all of the different components, all of the different tenets of the whole school, whole community, whole child model. It connects to everything we're all talking about in relation to wellness. And instead of saying, let's do this giant assessment and then you could prioritize, we in Orange County, we thought there's an opportunity to focus on staff well-being. And that's where we narrowed our focus. So our work right now with Kaiser is all about a focus on staff well-being. And we do have actual dollars, and Kat is gonna take you through exactly what our process is and how we communicate the why and all of that, because that's all a very, very important part of buy-in. And for getting someone to date you, you're gonna be like, this is like our online profile. Look, this is so attractive. You want this. So she's going to walk you through all of that. But I really wanted to also share that, yes, we have a focus on specific districts and schools, but what we're really doing, having Kat as a full-time person on this project, is building a system for universal support, because we really want this to be a sustained effort. We want targeted support, and then we kind of say, now you're part of this bigger sustainability network, we're going to move on to someone else who needs targeted support, and so on and so forth. And this is really what county offices do. County offices provide technical assistance. County offices link our LEAs and our schools to tools and resources. And we have credibility when we make sure we're communicating that this is evidence-based, this is research informed, and we're going to share that with you, because this isn't like, oh, this is some fun stuff and it's just like a good time. No, this is going to impact productivity. It's going to impact school connectedness, because guess what? That matters not just for students, it also matters for staff, all staff. We're not talking about just credentialed teachers. So that bigger approach is really, really important. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kat, and she's going to take it from here.
I'm so lucky to have Doreen as my supervisor. We have a lot of fun together. So, wow, so much to talk about, so much to do. And I wish that Dr. Salcido was here, because I wanted to let her know that I'm a Yankees fan. That the last 11 times that the Yankees and the Dodgers met the World Series, the Yankees have won 8 out of 11 times. Anyway, if anybody sees her, just let her know. She was, it was funny. She was talking about, anxiety and, our anxious society. And this is one of the reasons my work is so important. Our work is so important because, kids are anxious, adults are anxious. I talk to educators all the time. I even grew up in sort of an anxious home. My mother had a lot of anxiety, was always worried about things. And as I became an adult, I bought her this book called Why Women Worry. And in kind, she bought me this nice book called How to Stop Procrastinating. And I haven't read it yet. So let's get back to it. The importance of staff well-being, not just teachers, right? Obviously, teachers have the greatest impact on students, but everybody. The first person the kids see in the morning is the bus driver. Is the bus driver cranky? Has the bus driver had breakfast? Right? You walk into the office. Is the office staff smiling? Are they happy? Are they welcoming? It's about everybody in the building and creating that vibe of happiness and health. And we do that in a variety of ways. So everybody matters in the school building. We try to create that that air of wellness. And so there's tons of support or research that supports staff well-being as a priority. And I could show you pages and pages and pages, right? You just go on and on about how important it is, and that well-being focused professional development reduces teacher stress and burnout, improving job satisfaction and retention, right? Higher staff well-being leads to more effective promotion of positive student behavior and academic achievement. I could go on, right? We know that this research has been around for a long time, but how do we really make this happen in schools? We know that the consequences of staff stress and burnout are as follows: increased teacher turnover, declining student performance, negative school atmosphere, right? These are the things that we're very, very concerned about, right? I think the Credentialing Office of California had a 16% decline in teacher applications last year, right? And we know that, what's happening in schools when we have shortages, teachers have these huge classrooms. There's 40 kids in the classroom. So, and that's problematic. We're building the plane while flying it, right? So, as Doreen mentioned, I came on last year. So I was here last year. I had just told everybody, hey, I got a job at OCDE. So here I am. I've been there for a year. But when I first got on board, while we had the structure of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, the assessment and the framework, there was still a lot of work to do, right? I needed to develop a process. We needed to have an application. So those were the things that I spent my first few months doing. So we created an application, an overview, some deliverables for the program, some ideas for spending. We developed the process, we developed the scope of work, and of course the contracts. We had a system for tracking technical assistance, right? We don't have a CRM, so I had to create that for myself, as we often do with the work that we're all doing. System for tracking schools' progress. I created some action plan guides. So for each of the 15 best practices, instead of saying like, here you go, good luck, this is your goal, I created an action plan guide that had some suggested action steps that they could modify, take leave as they wish. And those have been really helpful for them. And then, of course, looking for specific resources and creating trainings. I have a catalog now of about 20 trainings. I have maybe 2 really refined beautifully. So it's a process, right? And a lot of that is coming from, feedback from the staff. I give a training, I ask for feedback. What did you like? What did you not like? And I make sure that I include it in my next training and make changes. And so recently I felt like the training that I delivered was amazing. So I'm really happy. People were smiling and really happy and asking for more, and left, inspired and motivated, right? And that's, what more can we do? I can't be there with them, doing yoga with them and deep breathing in the morning. While I'd love to, it's not possible. So building their capacity, but getting them excited to actually engage and do the work. We have quarterly network meetings, and so all of my grantees, so I have 15 schools that received $3,000. So imagine you have $3,000 to take someone on a date, right? That's a pretty hot date. So they each get $3,000, and one of the requirements is that they come to these quarterly meetings. As they build their team, I ask them to bring their teammates. I do invite their principals, because I got their email too. And then anybody else that calls me or emails me or shows any interest, or someone that I meet on the street, hey, you like staff well-being, you can come to the meeting too, right? Because they're learning about the process. And they can make inquiries and also share their successes. So we try to create that as a forum for them to share with each other. And then, really thinking about, how do we embed staff wellness into everyday experience? Change management is, it sounds like a big thing, right? We're talking about systems change, right? We talked about that this morning, and how important it is, right? And I always say, gosh, if we could just flip education up on its head and just do it completely differently and start from scratch, that'd be amazing. But since we can't, right, we have to make sure that when we make changes, that they're the best changes that we could make, and that we do it right. changes require people to change their behavior, to have different thoughts, to communicate differently, to build different relationships. And often the changes that we want to see in schools fall on the shoulders of the educators and the school staff, right? Even in nutrition, right? We make changes and we have to have different menus and different laws come through, and our cafeteria workers, they have to change. They have to change their habits, the way they do things, maybe their philosophies. And I don't know that we've done a great job of that in education. So it's something that's really important for us to address and, be very respectful of the fact that we are asking people to change their minds and change their hearts. And they need inspiration and they need tools and resources to be in the space that they can do that. So trust is really necessary. Trust is It must be addressed by school leaders. If teachers don't trust their principals, you're not going to get really far, right? So it's really important for us to have that conversation. When I talk with school leaders and they give me their time, this is something that we always discuss. Right? How can you continue to build more trust with your staff? And of course, the fears, right? I remember working for Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and I called this woman in Alabama who was responsible for the triennial assessment, and we had made some changes on our dashboard, and she said, Kat, I don't like change. I don't like it at all. I'm going to listen to you, but I don't know if I can do it. You can do it, I promise. I promise you can do it. Anyway, we got her through it, but some people don't like change. And some people are afraid, like, oh, they're going to ask for more. They're going to, expect more of us. So we have to be able to ameliorate those fears by building trust between leadership and school staff, and also staff with each other. It needs to be an ongoing priority. It cannot be a one and done. I really don't want to come and do one workshop for your school and say, hey, we addressed staff well-being, have a good year. Right? It actually backfires. You can't tell a school we're going to have focus on staff well-being and have a program and then not do it enough and not talk about it enough. It has to be embedded in the work. And so that's what we're attempting to do with this approach. And, I personally, after 32 years in education, feel like this is the foundation for success. Everybody feels like their stuff is important because it is. But I feel like my stuff's more important. So anyway, we're providing intensive support for 15 schools in 8 different districts. So I first had to go about engaging these schools, recruiting, and thank goodness for existing relationships. Right? So I got some introductions from some of my colleagues. There was some other people that I had known previously. My hairstylist's kids go to Viejo Elementary, so I got an introduction to the principal there. Imagine that. Hey, it works. But these schools have done a really great job so far. We found a project lead, and those project leads are doing great, especially those who volunteered to do it. Some principals that were voluntold to do it by district office people aren't doing as well. So readiness is also a really important thing. Everyone is ready for staff well-being, essentially, in some way, shape, or form. But there are resentments when you tell a principal you have to do this and you didn't ask them. So that's another thing that we have to think about, even when we're engaging in staff well-being. I'm really sorry that these slides didn't really, I use an online program, and I'm sure you can't see them very well. So I'm going to work on that. It's a new program called Gamma. But anyway, these are some pictures from Fountain Valley High School. Kayla Prokosky is my lead over there. She's a wellness specialist. She runs the well space. She's a counselor. She's amazing. And she's done some things around building positive culture, right? So that's their goal, is building positive staff relationships and also building a more positive culture. So she's using the funding to have staff get some chair massages. She had a sound bath. They brought in therapy dogs. They did hand-built ceramics. They had a cookie decorating. They made friendship bracelets. They're playing pickleball. So they're doing all of these really fun things, right? Are we able to play that video that's linked on the bottom there? Please say yes. Say yes. Try it. There we go. Yeah. All right. Folks just came in and out all day. The pets were there, got all kinds of love and treats, and it really made people smile. I see smiles around right now. Right. Okay, we go to the next slide here. Let's try that. Okay, we'll skip to the on time. And I just wanted to show you a few photos here also of some of the this is a wellness space for staff. This is a staff lounge over at Ocean View High School. So they've actually been working with the department since before I came on. And they're really moving and excelling in wellness. Not just staff wellness, but also family and community engagement and social emotional learning. Yes? So you got it back on. Thank you. Social emotional learning. And they have this amazing staff well space called The Nest. I've been there. It's fantastic. That's one shot. There's another photo. You can see that there's they use what's called biophilic design. So all very natural fibers, lots of plants, lots of wood, helps to create that relaxing space for staff. And that is a gratitude board that they have on the wall there, where people write on those tags that they're grateful for someone or something. So as we create our universal support, and this is what I do for anyone who's interested, but this is also what the grantees have done, is we just do an hour introductory meeting. So I make sure that I, meet with the project lead or the principal that's interested, and I ask them, make sure that you have other people here with you to help run the project, because principals are often just too busy. Right? They can dabble in it, but they can't really dive in. So project lead is really important. We have a 1-hour meeting to introduce the dashboard, the Alliance for a Healthier Generation dashboard, and also the materials. I have a new universal support guide that's in the works. It's almost done. So that's also something that I'll be able to hand over. That's sort of, everything, how to do everything step by step, and the resources and the links, all that great stuff. We make sure that they have instruction how to complete the Thriving Schools Integrated Assessment Staff Wellbeing section only. There are 14 topics covered in that assessment, whole child health topics, including social emotional learning, chronic absenteeism, family and community engagement. And the section that we complete is called the Cultivating Staff Wellbeing section. That's 15 questions. So they answer those questions as a smaller group. They ask whether these practices are fully in place or not, and some of these practices we'll go over in a second. And then once they're done with that, I look at those results and I create a customized survey for their staff. And on that customized survey, we find out what topics are you interested in? What do you want to learn about? What's most important to you? What kind of physical activities do you like? What time of day is best for you? What days are best for you? What kind of format do you want to meet in? So we get all of that feedback from the staff themselves. And then I create an action planning chart for them, which just says, okay, these are your top 2 goals chosen by your staff. Here are some suggested actions in your action plan guide. And then we talk through that and we make sure that they are providing these services, whether they're workshops or physical activity opportunities. And those are the top two goals so far for the majority of my schools. One is professional learning on staff well-being, which is inclusive of stress management, self-care, and healthy boundaries. And then the other one is physical activity opportunities. Educators and school staff want to get up and be able to move during the day. Right, so we figure out, what's going to work best for them, and they choose the physical activities they like, and we get going with that as soon as possible. So universal supports provided around these practices, gratitude practices. I just mentioned professional learning on staff well-being, professional learning on psychological safety, dependability, structure, and clarity, adopting a conflict resolution process, creating relaxing staff lounges with biophilic design, building emotional intelligence, building staff positive relationships, and fostering a positive work culture, integrating regular physical activity opportunities and trauma-informed practices, and a few other things. All right, but like I said, the top two are physical activity and the professional learning. We're going to be measuring outcomes. We thought about doing pre and post, but in the beginning of the year, it's just really a lot for people to get going and, really have an action plan in place and get started, right? So now we're in mid-October and everybody has their goals, and some people have already really dug in and gotten started. Some are just kind of getting started now, and it's okay. We're really here to meet them where they are, but I keep telling them we got to get going with this, right? We want to make sure that we're addressing staff well-being on a regular basis, a regular cadence, whether that's someone like Kayla is doing it weekly. She does something every week for staff, or at minimum, do something monthly. And so, excuse me, we're going to be doing for the stress management goal on creating healthy boundaries and self-care, professional learning. We'll have a retrospective survey, post-survey for that. We'll also have a retrospective post-survey for the physical opportunity engagement and its effects, right? So we're in the process of creating those surveys so that we can find out, did they like the trainings? Did they like the activities that were offered? Were they happy with the way that the principal or their department lead started doing some more fun connection, team building activities at the beginning of meetings? Right, so whatever their goals are, we want to make sure that we measure the outcomes. And each school is going to be different. Most schools have those two goals, but not everybody. And so folks that have a staff lounge, for example, we want to make sure that they have a process of attendance. Are people actually going? And if they're not going in the middle of the year, we want to reflect back and say, well, what's the problem? Right? Do we have a tap in, tap out system where teachers, if they need to take a break, they can, call on somebody to come to their room for 10 minutes so they can go take a breather if they're about to lose it. Right? That's what these spaces are for. We really want to create spaces to have a place where they can manage their acute stress. Right? So that's one of the criteria for those staff lounges, that we want to make sure that they have that ability to do that. So in the beginning survey that we sent out that I mentioned before, where we asked them about the topics and the physical activities they're interested in, we also asked them, what is your current opinion about wellness in your school? How do you feel? Do you feel supported? And it's pretty interesting feedback, and there's also comment section. So we get a pretty good idea, even just from that beginning survey, how the overall morale is at the school. And then I'm able to have very candid discussions with the school leaders about why do you think they feel this way? And those are very difficult conversations. But I try to tell jokes so that people stay relaxed because, it's not brain surgery. It's really important because it affects people's lives on a daily basis, and ultimately it trickles down to the kiddos. But we have to have those real conversations. And we are going to be engaging in an emotional intelligence initiative. This is our new superintendent's initiative that's going to be countywide. We're going to be offering emotional intelligence trainings for districts. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. We had our second meeting this morning at 8 o'clock, but it's right up my alley. It fits right into this work. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about because Doreen touched on it and Farah talked about it also is how does this work fit? How does it fit into community schools? How does it fit into MTSS? How does it fit into the Emotional Intelligence Initiative? How does it fit into all the stuff that educators and school staff are already expected to do? West Ed put out a great paper. I think I have it linked to my resources actually about creating alignment and coherence with the work that we're doing. For me, it's kind of easy because almost every initiative that we have requires people to change and do things differently. And so that change management piece is where this staff well-being stuff comes in. We want to make sure that their resilience is up, that they're feeling good and positive. Negativity is contagious. Emotions are contagious. So, we really want to make sure that we create positive experiences for them in the schools. And we start with the workshops, and then we make sure that we follow up with other trainings and worksheets and resources and videos that are quick and easy that they can watch. And I try to also create accountability partners. So after the trainings, I ask them to find an accountability partner at their school. I can't follow up, so I ask my project leads to do that. So it's this constant, capacity building and communication, but it works. It works if you work it. So work it because you're worth it. You've heard that before, right? Okay. There's a resource list here. This will be available for you when the support guide is done. And then later on, we've got Jessica here to talk a little bit more about LCAP and how hopefully my goal is to create a template for you to see where we can get some LCAP funding for staff well-being because there's no money for staff. And hopefully Kaiser Permanente will keep giving us lots and lots of money, but we can't count on it, right? So we have to have that money. It's helpful. I mean, you don't have to have it, but let me tell you, if you take money and feed these teachers and school staff, if you buy them just some little thing or have a raffle to get them to come to things, right? Because nobody wants to stay after school for the stress management training, right? It really helps. It helps a lot. So those are the things that we're doing. It's a process. I'm learning, they're learning, but it's really good stuff, and it has to become a part of the conversation and a very important part of the conversation so that we can keep our school staff happy, healthy, and that, of course, is going to create the environments that we need to have the best opportunity for kids to learn and grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm feeling a deep sense of gratitude that we've had so many visitors from so many different counties coming to share what those counties are doing. So I have a deep sense of gratitude, but I also have a deep sense of competitiveness where I'm like, how can we do all of those amazing things too? So I feel motivated.